Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Renu Kataria, and with me is Renuka, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. India's President Ram Nath Kovind embarks on a two-nation visit to Jamaica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to pay an official visit to Lumbini in Nepal on Monday on the occasion of Buddha Purnima. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal consults industry as part of India's FTA negotiations with UK, EU and Canada. Indian Embassy in Ukraine to resume operation in Kyiv from 17th of this month. G7 declares never to recognize new borders as a result of Russia's military operation of Ukraine. Elon Musk puts deal to buy Twitter on hold over number of fake or spam accounts on the social media platform. China pulls out of hosting next year's AFC Asian Cup due to COVID-19 situation in the country. In Thomas Cup Badminton, India to face Indonesia in the summit clash on Sunday at Bangkok. India played their first ever final in 73-year history. India's President Ram Nath Kovind left on a state visit to Jamaica and St. Vincent and Grenadines Saturday morning. This is the first ever visit by an Indian head of state to these Caribbean nations. The President will be in Jamaica from 15th to 18th of this month, where he will hold delegation-level talks with his counterpart, the Governor-General of Jamaica, Sir Patrick Allen. He will also meet Prime Minister Andrew Holness and other dignitaries. During the visit, the President will address the joint sitting of the two houses of Jamaican Parliament. Jamaica and India have friendly relations. Jamaica is also one of the Girmitia countries with a strong Indian diaspora who act as a living bridge with India. The visit comes at a significant milestone as 2022 is the 60th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relations between India and Jamaica. Mr. Kovind will also pay a state visit to St. Vincent and Grenadines, SVG, from 18th to 21st of this month and hold discussions with his counterpart, Governor-General Ms. Susan Dugan. He will also meet Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves as well as other dignitaries. President Kovind will address the House of Assembly of SVG. Our correspondent accompanying the President has filed this report.
The visit of the President Kovind to Jamaica and St. Vincent and Grenadines assumes importance as both these nations are active members in the Caribbean community. The first ever head of state visit to these countries is a continuation of India's high-level engagement in the Caribbean region and emphasizes India's continued commitment to work with small island developing countries. This is Arun Kumar Singh for AIR News.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will pay an official visit to Lumbini in Nepal on Monday on the occasion of Buddha Purnima. He is visiting the Himalayan nation at the invitation of his Nepalese counterpart, Sher Bahadur Deuba. This will be the Prime Minister's fifth visit to Nepal since 2014 and his first visit to Lumbini. The visit reaffirms India's commitment and demonstrates the priority it attaches to the neighbourhood. At Lumbini, the Prime Minister will visit the sacred Maya Devi temple to offer prayers. He will also deliver an address at a Buddha Jayanti event organized by the Lumbini Development Trust. During his visit, Mr. Modi will also participate in the Shilanyas ceremony for the construction of a Centre for Buddhist Culture and Heritage in a plot belonging to the International Buddhist Confederation, New Delhi, within the Lumbini monastic zone. Both the Prime Ministers will hold a bilateral meeting. Prime Minister Modi's visit continues the tradition of regular high-level exchanges between India and Nepal in furtherance of India's neighbourhood-first policy. It underscores the shared civilizational heritage of the people of both the countries.
In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a discussion on India-Nepal ties. In conversation are Ranjit Rai, former ambassador, and Sanjay Jha, journalist.
Nepal and India enjoy excellent bilateral ties founded on the age-old connection of history, culture, tradition and religion. These relations are close, comprehensive and multidimensional and are pronounced more in political, social, cultural, religious, and economic engagement with each other. As close neighbors, India and Nepal share unique ties of friendship and cooperation, characterized by an open border and deep-rooted people-to-people contacts of kinship and culture. There has been a long tradition of free movement of people across the border. Nepal shares a long boundary of 1,850 kilometers with 5 Union states, Sikkim, West Bengal, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and Uttarakhand. Ambassador Ray, how do you see India and Nepal relations in the modern context?
See, we have very ancient relations, and at the same time, we have very modern, progressive relations. Our ancient relations are based on people-to-people linkages. We have marriages that take place between Nepal and India. We have religious and cultural similarities. We have open borders, and these borders have always been open. So we have a very close, I would say, even intimate relationship. In the modern period, I think both our countries have young people. There are youthful aspirations. Both our countries want to develop rapidly. So the focus of our relationship today is on strengthening the economic engagement and cooperation between our two countries, whether it is in terms of development of hydropower, development of infrastructure, development of tourism between the two countries. So you can say that these age-old relations are now being reinvigorated and re-strengthened, deepened, enhanced in the modern context through our economic partnership.
Building on shared Hindu and Buddhist civilizational heritage, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will again reach out to Nepal when he lands at Lumbini, the birthplace of Prince Siddhartha, who became Buddha after enlightenment in Bodh Gaya in India. Prime Minister's visit to Lumbini only for a few hours on Monday, where he's going to meet Nepal Prime Minister Seth Bahadur Deva. This is going to be the second meeting in a little over a month. Last month we saw Prime Minister Deva visiting India and going around the country. How do you see this important visit of Prime Minister Modi to Lumbini?
So this demonstrates the fact that our relationship is so close and so important for both countries. In 2 months, we have 2 high-level visits between India and Nepal. The visit to Lumbini is very significant. In all his previous visits, you recall, Prime Minister has been there on 4 official visits to Nepal, and he has really reinvigorated the relationship. This is now the 5th visit to Lumbini, the birthplace of Prince Siddhartha. And Lord Buddha is somebody who really connects Nepal with India. He was born in Nepal, but his enlightenment, his preaching, and his death happened in India. And there are millions of followers of Buddhism in the whole world, and especially in Asia, who want to travel to these places, who want to follow in the footsteps of the Buddha in all these places, in Lumbini, in Bodh Gaya, Sarnath, Kushinagar, Nalanda, Rajgir. So I think the Prime Minister's visit will demonstrate the importance of Buddhism in the relationship between the two countries and the need to develop this Buddhist circuit for pilgrims from all over the world. And I think there is also a political or strategic dimension to the visit. There is China, which is also Nepal's neighbor, has been actively trying to exploit the soft power potential of Buddhism. And they have invested in Lumbini in a big way. They have constructed a very big monastery. They sponsor conferences on Buddhism. So I think Prime Minister's visit to Lumbini demonstrates that this is a very important aspect of India's foreign policy, of India's relationship with Nepal. I think, for the future, it demonstrates India will focus on developing of these religious, spiritual, and cultural linkages, not only vis-a-vis India-Nepal relationship, but also in terms of India's relationship with Southeast Asia, East Asia, and Northeast Asia.
Absolutely. One of the noble manifestations of India's soft power initiative is sustainable cultural diplomacy. And Buddhism is a crucial component of it due to its historical significance. India is applying the principles of Sanskriti Evam Sabhyata, culture and civilizational link, desiring to leverage its old age cultural links with other countries as part of its non-coercive soft power strategy. And the Buddhist faith, we know that it sort of developed in India and then it went around all over the world, especially Southeast Asia, as you mentioned, and Nepal is where he was born. So, and Buddhist faith teaches us emphasis on peaceful coexistence, and its wide pan-Asian presence lend itself well to soft power diplomacy. We saw last month Nepali Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Devba's 3-day visit between April 1st to 3rd, and it was sort of a mixed bag. We saw some progress in some issues that were uppermost on his agenda, and it was his first visit abroad since becoming Prime Minister last year. In the previous Prime Minister's tenure, India and Nepal had a bit of problem, in terms of bilateral relations. Do you think now Prime Minister Modi's visit and his personal equation, with Deva will try and ease that tension?
Well, I think the tension has eased up. And the tension is not surprising or unusual. When you have two neighboring countries with asymmetric size and very close, intimate relationship, there are bound to be issues and problems that come up. After all, in any family or even between friends, you sometimes have difficulties. But there are ways and means of resolving these difficulties. And I think that is what we are trying to do between India and Nepal. And I think in this context, the relationship between the top leaders of India and Nepal is very critical and across the board with all political leaders in Nepal. And I think that is why it is so important that we should have this regular interaction between top level political leaders and also, not only the top level youth leaders and others to create more understanding, mutual trust and overall a better relationship, because this is the glue that binds the relationship between two countries. So certainly the Prime Minister's visit to Lumbini is a very important step in this direction.
We saw Nepal's relation with India have been on a low ebb for last few years. There has been little high-level communication between the two countries in recent years. Moreover, Nepal is also caught in the middle of a geopolitical tussle between China and the United States. And there are several outstanding issues in India-Nepal relations that require immediate attention. You have served in Nepal as an ambassador. Could you tell us what are the outstanding issues which is crippling our relationship, or it can probably be broad-based more by resolving those issues?
See, I personally feel the fundamental issues relate to our economic engagement and partnership. And these are issues, for instance, of the development of hydropower projects. A big issue like the Pancheshwar hydropower project has been stuck for 25 years. This has been revived on several occasions, and most recently during Prime Minister Devba's visit, there was a special mention of the need to work and move ahead quickly on this project. Of course, the Nepalese side raises certain issues. They don't like the 1950 Treaty of Friendship with India. They have also precipitated the boundary issue by drawing a new map of India. India has been very critical of this development. In the past, there was an eminent persons group that was supposed to look at the relationship. That report has not been accepted. So there are some of these issues that remain. And as I said, all these issues have to be resolved through dialogue and negotiation and through mutual give and take. But this should not detract from the importance that we attach to our overall partnership, whether it is development of infrastructure, whether it is development of hydropower, whether it is engagement in the financial sector. During the Prime Minister Devba's visit, there was an agreement that the Indian RuPay card would also be valid in Nepal. So all this work must go on while we should make efforts, if we cannot resolve entirely, at least reduce the intensity of the negative issues that characterize the relationship.
China's growing role in Nepal has been a concern for India, and that has also had implications on our bilateral relations. During the monarchy, China maintained a link with the palace, and its concerns were primarily related to keeping tabs on Tibetan refugee community. But with the evolution of monarchy, China has shifted attention to its political parties and to institutions such as the army and armed police force, and consider Nepal an important element in its growing South Asian footprint. So we have seen India's relations, because of Chinese growing influence, also having issues. Do you think now the Prime Minister Modi's visit and Prime Minister of Nepal's visit to India, that will try and repair on this Chinese side?
See, the first point I want to make is that India-Nepal relationship is so strong, so widespread, it covers the entire spectrum of human endeavor. So no third country can substitute for India in this relationship. Having said that, there is no doubt that Chinese role, influence, presence in Nepal is increasing over the years. And this is not only in terms of the economic initiatives. As you know, Nepal is party to the Belt and Road Initiative. The Chinese have constructed several airports. They are engaged in some hydropower projects. Chinese President Xi Jinping visited Nepal in 2019, a visit after 23 years. China has been actively engaged in trying to unify the communist parties of Nepal. So Chinese role has certainly increased. And I think this is something that India needs to factor into while making its own strategy and policy. And the second aspect, and you referred to this in your earlier question, is the geopolitics. And we have seen how global geopolitics and the contestation for influence between United States and China is playing out in Nepal. And in Nepal, there was a lot of resistance to a $500 million grant project from the USA. And there were rumors that it is the Chinese that were behind it. Anyway, finally, this project has been passed. So India has to observe very carefully not only the growing Chinese involvement in Nepal, but also the US-China interaction that is taking place in Nepal. Nepal is a country with open borders with India, and obviously anything that happens there has major implications from India. So India must certainly take these factors into account.
Absolutely. As India moves away from coal, it is searching for a massive supply of clean and renewable energy. In this context, additional supply from Nepal could help India bridge the gap, and that will also bolster our bilateral relation between two countries. Ambassador Ray, thank you very much for participating in this discussion.
Thank you very much.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has wished the ruler of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, on being elected as the new president of the United Arab Emirates. In a tweet, Mr. Modi expressed confidence that under the dynamic and visionary leadership of Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, their comprehensive strategic partnership will continue to deepen.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has signed the condolence book at the Embassy of United Arab Emirates in New Delhi, extending India's deepest condolences on the passing away of Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the late President of the United Arab Emirates. In a tweet on Saturday, Dr. Jaishankar said, India will always be thankful for the vision and leadership of Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan that has brought both countries so close. He said we best honor him by taking forward the India-UAE strategic partnership. National flag flown at half-mast as Government of India is observing one-day state mourning as a mark of respect to Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, who passed away on Friday.
The Indian Minister for Commerce and Industry, Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution and Textiles, Piyush Goyal, held a day-long stakeholder consultation with various sectors of the industry in Mumbai on India's ongoing negotiations on free trade agreements with Canada, the United Kingdom and the European Union on Saturday. The minister had separate meetings with representatives of automobiles, gem and jewelry, textiles, steel, copper and aluminium sectors. The hybrid interaction had industry leaders and associations attending both in person and online. The Commerce Minister apprised the industry as to how the agreements that are being negotiated will elevate the overall economic and commercial relations with respective partner countries. It will not only benefit bilateral trade, but also create new jobs and provide wider social and economic opportunities. Mr. Goyal stressed on the potential benefits, both direct and complementary spillover economic benefits, including increased investment, job creation, and employment opportunities.
The Government of India said that in view of the price rise of wheat, decision has been taken to regulate its export and has assured that Public Distribution System, PDS, will continue to distribute wheat without any hitch. Addressing media in New Delhi on Saturday, Secretary Food and Consumer Affairs Sudhanshu Pandey said that PDS system is the backbone of country's food safety and security network. He said PDS covers almost 81.35 crore people, and despite the rise in price of wheat in the international market, it will run smoothly in the country. He said all other countries except India are selling wheat at around $450 to $480 per ton in the market. Agriculture Secretary Manoj Ahuja said that the country is in safe position in terms of quantity and availability of wheat.
Environment Minister Bhupendra Yadav participated in the BRICS high-level meeting held virtually on Friday. Speaking at the BRICS high-level meeting on climate change, the minister highlighted the relevance of the forum to jointly address climate change, to explore approaches to accelerate low-carbon and resilient transition, and to achieve sustainable recovery and development. A report.
The BRICS high-level meeting was chaired by Chinese Minister for Ecology and Environment Huang Runqiu and was attended by environment ministers of BRICS nations including Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. Mr. Yadav in his address underscored India's commitment to strong climate action including the promotion of sustainable lifestyles based on mindful consumption and reduction of waste. He informed the BRICS ministers that under the visionary leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, how India is leading by example today by taking several robust steps in the field of renewable energy, sustainable habitats, creation of carbon sinks through additional forest and tree cover, transition to sustainable transport, e-mobility, and mobilizing the private sector to make climate commitments. The Environment Minister mentioned how India has progressively continued decoupling economic growth from greenhouse gas emissions. Mr. Yadav mentioned that ambitious implementation of climate actions by developing countries is contingent on the ambitious and adequate delivery of climate finance, technology transfer and other implementation support as mandated by the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change UNFCCC and the Paris Agreement. He expressed optimism towards the delivery of the climate finance as per the Glasgow decision and the climate finance delivery plan released by the COP26 presidency. BRICS environment ministers expressed commitment to strengthen collaboration on climate change and broaden and deepen the contents of cooperation. The countries also agreed to carry out policy exchanges and cooperation in areas of environment and climate change. A joint statement was also issued on the occasion. Reshma Tiwari for World News, All India Radio.
This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has said that the Russia-Ukraine conflict, along with COVID pandemic, has impacted the world economy and it is going through a difficult phase. He added that the Government of India has initiated a number of steps to deal with these challenges and the results are visible. Addressing an event in his parliamentary constituency Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh on Saturday, Mr. Singh said that due to the government's all-round efforts, the Indian economy is witnessing a V-shaped recovery. He said surveys of various agencies have predicted that India will continue to grow as one of the fastest growing major economies in the world. He added that our exports are continuously increasing and setting new records.
The Indian Embassy in Ukraine, which is temporarily operating out of Warsaw in Poland, would be resuming its operation in Kyiv with effect from 17th of this month. The embassy was temporarily relocated to Warsaw on 13th of March this year.
The group of 7 industrialized nations have declared they will never recognize new borders as a result of Russia's military operation of Ukraine. In a statement after a meeting of their foreign ministers, the G7 said it will never recognize borders Russia has attempted to change by military action and will uphold the engagement in the support of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine, including Crimea and all states. An agency report added that the statement also says the G7 will expand sanctions and keep supplying Ukraine with weapons. The G7 are Canada, Germany, France, Italy, Japan and the UK and the US. The EU also has a seat at the table, but it is not counted in the 7.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has told his Finnish counterpart Sauli Niinistö that ditching neutrality and joining NATO would be a mistake that could damage relations between their two countries. The two countries said their president spoke by phone 2 days after Finland declares its intention to join the Western Alliance. Moscow has described that as a security threat that it will require it to respond, but has not specified how. Niinistő's office said he told Putin how fundamentally the Russian demands in late 2021, aiming at preventing countries from joining NATO and Russia's military operation of Ukraine in February 2022 have altered the security environment of Finland. He said Finland wanted to handle relations with its Russian neighbor in a correct and professional manner.
India will be the official country of honor at the upcoming Marshidu film, organized alongside the Cannes Film Festival in France. The festival will be organized from 17th of this month. Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur, along with movie celebrities from across the country, will walk the red carpet at Cannes on the 17th of this month. Red carpet event at the 75th Cannes Film Festival is going to be a gala event as celebrities including Akshay Kumar, A.R. Rahman and Nawaz bin Siddiqui are set to walk the red carpet as part of Indian delegation on the opening day of the film festival. This year, the intent is to showcase the rich flavor and diversity of India through its cinema. The delegation has been handpicked to represent different strengths and aspects of the country. France and India are marking 75 years of their diplomatic ties, and the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Paris and meeting with President Emmanuel Macron takes even more significance in this context. The country of honor status to India ensures its presence as focus country at the opening night of Marshidu Films being organized at the Majestic Beach. India is also a country of honor at the Cannes Next, under which 5 new startups would be given an opportunity to pitch the audio-visual industry. Another highlight of the India's participation would be the world premiere of the movie Rocketry, produced by R. Madhavan. Rocketry, The Nambi Effect, will be premiered at Palace K. The other movies will be screened at the Olympia Theatre. The movies to be screened at the 75th edition of the film festival include Marathi film Godavari, Hindi film Alpha Beta Gamma, Machine language film Booma Ride, Hindi and Marathi film Dhuin, Malayalam film Tree Full of Parrots.
Business magnate investor Elon Musk has said his $44 billion deal to buy Twitter is on hold after he queried the number of fake or spam accounts on the social media platform. However, Mr. Musk added that later he was still committed to the acquisition. But analysts speculated he could be seeking to renegotiate the price or even walk away from the takeover. Mr. Musk's tweet sent Twitter's share price plunging 10% in morning trade in New York.
China has pulled out of hosting next year's AFC Asia Cup due to COVID-19 situation in the country. In a statement, the Asian Football Confederation AFC said their Chinese counterparts had told them they would not be able to host the tournament.
In badminton, rejuvenated Indian male shuttlers seeking to create history when they will clash 14-time winners Indonesia in the final of the Thomas Cup at the Impact Arena in Bangkok's Island on Sunday at 11:30 a.m. While Indonesia have been relentless with an unbeaten record, India have just lost one match against Chinese Taipei in the group stage so far in the competition.
In IPL cricket, Kolkata Knight Riders have set a victory target of 178 runs before Sunrisers Hyderabad at MCA Stadium in Pune. In reply, Sunrisers Hyderabad were 101 for 5 in 16 overs when reports last came in. Earlier, Kolkata Knight Riders won the toss and elected to bat first. Now let us have a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. Now let's have a look at the press reports on China. Al Jazeera writes US President Joe Biden has pledged to spend $150 million on infrastructure, security and the anti-pandemic efforts at the summit of Southeast Asian leaders as Washington seeks to counter China's rising influence in the region. Radio Free Asia writes Beijing has slammed the U.S. proposed Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, calling it an attempt by Washington to lure Southeast Asia countries to decouple from China.
Now let's have a look at the press reports on Nepal. The Kathmandu Post writes, the National Human Rights Commission has said the local level polls held on Friday could not become peaceful as expected.
Now let's have a look at the press reports on Pakistan. The Dawn writer, former Prime Minister Imran Khan on Friday warned that a sea of people set to march towards Islamabad would sweep everyone away if the government did not announce a date for elections. The Express Tribune writes, Finance Minister Miftah Ismail has held previous PTR-led government responsible for the current economic crisis in the country, saying that former Prime Minister Imran Khan led regime's flawed agreement with the International Monetary Fund led to a rise in inflation and depreciation of rupee against US dollar.
Now let's have a look at the press reports on Bangladesh. Bangladesh Garment Manufacturer and Exporters Association BGMEA has said that the share of Bangladesh's export in the global apparel market will surpass 10% by 2025, reports Prothama Law. Now a quick look at the headlines once again. India's President Ramnath Kovind embarks on a two-nation visit to Jamaica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to pay an official visit to Lumbini in Nepal on Monday on the occasion of Buddha Purnima. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal consults industry as part of India's FTA negotiations with UK, EU and Canada. Indian Embassy in Ukraine to resume operation in Kyiv from 17th of this month. G7 declares never to recognize new borders as a result of Russia's military operation of Ukraine. Elon Musk puts deal to buy Twitter on hold over number of fake or spam accounts on the social media platform. China pulls out of hosting next year's AFC Asian Cup due to COVID-19 situation in the country. And in Thomas Cup Badminton, India to face Indonesia in the summit clash on Sunday at Bangkok. India played their first ever final in 73-year history. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.